Hello everybody, I'm Axel1324 and welcome to my channel. Halo Infinite is only about 5 months away and I've decided to make a video on what kind of bad guy or guys Halo Infinite needs to be a really good story. Let's get into it. In the original trilogy, Master Chief faced off against a lot of bad guys, the main protagonist being the Covenant. Inside the Covenant, they had the Chieftain, the Brute Chieftain, they had the Prophets, and then they had just basically all the other little bad guys, and they were doing everything to activate the Halo rings to cleanse the universe and start their great journey. And it was important for that story to be told the way it was told because they were up against religious fanatics. Not only was the Master Chief fighting the Covenant, but he was also up against the technological bad guys in the construct 343 Guilty Spark. We were first introduced to him in Halo 1, and he returned somewhat in Halo 2-ish, and in Halo 3, he returned as well. Guilty Spark was an interesting bad guy because he would simultaneously be trying to help Chief and kill him at the same time. It was an interesting way to present a bad guy. He was trying to do the right thing in his mind, which was to contain the Flood. And that brings us to the third bad guy, the Flood. The Flood in itself basically just hates everybody. They don't really take sides. They're just there to basically eat and take everything for their own. And they have the Gravemind, which in and of itself is knowledgeable and powerful. And so you have the Prophets, the Chieftain, 343 Guilty Spark, and the Gravemind. And my personal favorite being the Gravemind. All these bad guys led you to feel like a real hero in the original Halo Trilogy. And I believe that that's what made the original Halo Trilogy so great, was that you fought some great protagonists. Each one with their own motivations, each ones that were formidable, and each one's trying to do the same thing, either kill each other, kill everybody, or just kind of kill the Chief in general. All of them believed that they were doing the right thing, or that they were on the right path. Even humanity believed that they were on the right path. Nobody saw themselves as the bad guy, although the Brute Chieftain kind of did. I think he enjoyed being maniacal and homicidal. So between all of them, that's what we got. We got some great stories with some great bad guys, all in the original 3 games. I think Halo Infinite needs some really good bad guys if it's going to be able to be called one of the greatest Halo games ever made. So all those bad guys were great, but those were Bungie's bad guys. We have now moved on into the era of 343's bad guys. And who have they given us? Well, no one really that great. So first, we're going to start off with the bad guy in Halo 4. You know, the big campaign of Halo 4 is an ancient evil awakens. In other words, he knew he was evil. And that was the Didact. The Didact, being a forerunner, could manipulate all the technology around him. He had the goal of controlling the Flood with a mechanical army, an army that cannot be eaten or absorbed, whatever you want to say the Flood does. So the Didact's motivation was to save his people, and he was going to use humanity to do it. And the Didact hated humanity. But that's not really explained very well in the game. The Didact's motivations were not very well explained. And he did check off some list on the bad guy, what makes a great bad guy list. He was very formidable to the Chief. He could easily best the Chief. And he felt no remorse towards all of humanity as a whole, but I think that was his problem, was that he was solely focused on humanity and not really focused on where the lore was, which is that the Didact was really all about containing the Flood using humanity as his robot army. You know, the souls or the AI equivalent of human consciousness enslaved. And so that wasn't all very well explained in the game. You had to go deep into the lore to learn that, which to me took away from the game. It took away from how bad the Didact really was. But even with all the lore intact, he still isn't a really great bad guy. He doesn't think he's the good guy. You know, all the Forerunners are gone. He's the sole survivor. He was imprisoned by his own people, so he knows he's the bad guy. What's his motivation really to be a bad guy, to be against humanity, other than hate? Vengeance, I suppose, is his true motivation, but it wasn't really explained too well in the game. So the Didact, while he was a cool character, in my opinion, that we finally got to see what a Forerunner looks like, he just wasn't really there. And I guess you could say that it was also good because Cortana had to die to stop the Didact, which was great. But even at the end of Halo 4, you know, the Didact falls into like a black hole thing as the nuke is going off. You know, technically that was a portal. At the time, I didn't know. I thought it was just some sort of black hole forerunner thing, but it turns out to be a portal. And I thought he was dead right there. But it turns out that he wasn't. He was eventually hunted down by the Chief and Blue Team and defeated. And it's the greatest battle we never got to play. And that's a huge, huge, huge mistake in my book. So the Didact as a great bad guy didn't work out. That was Halo 4. Then we move on to Halo 5 Guardians. Halo 5 Guardians tried to do kind of a simultaneous bad guy, with the main bad guy being Rampant Cortana. I like the idea of Rampant Cortana because she can access the Didact's network, she can control the enslaved humans, and she doesn't really believe she's the bad guy. She's trying to do long-term planning to take over the mantle of responsibility and bring prosperity to all of the galaxy. That is her motivation, is to be prosperous by force. It's I believe there was a cutscene in Halo 5 that said it, that the mantle was a forced I'll have to look it up.
Cortana, why does the Warden think he needs to protect you from me?
There's so much to explain. It'll be easier when we're face to face.
Try me.
The cure for rampancy I've found means AIs can be immortal. That kind of lifespan allows for long-term planning, just like the Forerunners were capable of. AIs can assume the Forerunner's mantle of responsibility. And once there is peace, we can focus on poverty, hunger, illness. But Warden believes some will resist our help. And he's afraid you're one of them.
Sounds great. I don't get why anyone's expecting resistance.
The Didact made it clear the mantle of responsibility was an Imperial piece. Step out of line and suffer.
It won't be like that, John. I'll explain it better once we're together.
And I thought that was great. Cortana was powerful, formidable, and feared. And in her motivation, she didn't see herself as the bad guy. She just saw herself as trying to bring order and prosperity to the galaxy by any means necessary. And she did not necessarily want to kill everybody blindly. She just wanted everybody to fall into her plan. And I believe that could have had some great, great characterization, especially in Halo Infinite. You know, which planets would have joined Cortana? Which planets would resist Cortana? Which AIs would be on her side and why? And which AIs would not be on her side? I think if they could have fleshed out the Rampant Cortana arc a little bit better, it could be very promising. The second bad guy in Halo 5 was Master Chief himself. You know, he's gone rogue. He's a bad guy. He's out of control. Not really. The guy's just looking for answers, trying to get himself emotionally in line with what is the reality of Rampant Cortana. And Agent Locke was supposed to be the new protagonist to stop Master Chief, and it kind of didn't work out too good, this whole, you know, Chief going rogue. They could have made it a lot better, and I think they really missed the mark. Maybe if he would have been on Cortana's side by pure manipulation, that would have been great, and he could have turned into a great bad guy, but he didn't, and the way they presented it was, quite frankly, awful. So, in the list of bad guys, for 343's bad guys so far, I would list Master Chief at the very bottom as being the worst bad guy they could have ever thought to have made. The Didact and Rampant Cortana. And this is where we are. So, who are the bad guys that we know about in Halo Infinite, and what do we need from them to make them so great? Fortunately, 343 is using a bad guy that was established in Halo Wars 2, and that is the Banished. Atriox. Oh my god, I love Atriox. He is formidable. He's driven by vengeance. He has a cool backstory as to why he's the way he is. He really doesn't harbor any hate towards the UNSC. He really hates the Covenant more than the humanity. He just kind of wants to control things. And he's very intelligent and he's strong. He's a Spartan hunter, so he can take on Spartans very good. And they show that with an awesome, awesome cutscene in Halo Wars 2. I might show that actually. Let's take a look at it.
What was that?
It's him.
You're coming with us.
As I suspected. Nothing but a man.
Red Team Leader, this is Recon 1. You have multiple hostiles approaching your location.
Alice, we're leaving.
Little demon.
That was so great. Took on 3 Spartans all by himself. That's what makes a good bad guy. And, he is feared. And that's what makes him such a great bad guy. But in Halo Infinite, we're not fighting Atriox. We're fighting his Banished. And the main bad guy that I'm aware of in Halo Infinite is Escharum? Naming? Let me look. Escharum? Escharum? However you say his name. What is Escharum? What does he need to be a good bad guy? Well, I mean, we all know that Atriox is the pinnacle bad guy. Like, I cannot wait till Halo Infinite 2 or Halo Infinite DLC to finally take on Atriox. But in Halo Infinite, I think we're only going to get up to Escharum. That's how I'm saying it. Escharum. And Escharum came in and he gives him a monologue in the Halo Infinite trailer. He talks about how he basically is looking for one last fight, how he basically was never challenged. The fight that the UNSC put up wasn't difficult, according to him. And he wants a good fight. Like, he knows he's basically an old brute and that he's going to die without having a really great battle, and he wants Chief to give him that great battle. That's what I have put together using just what 343 has presented to us, not so much what some of the lore, deeper lore, has given to us. His motivation is just he wants a good fight. He wants to die a good death, or at least have a good fight. And he's just carrying out orders from Atriox, which is to basically take over as much Forerunner technology as possible, including the ring, which is Zeta Halo in Halo Infinite. He's not driven by vengeance, which is good. Is he formidable? Well, they present him as formidable, at least at the command level. I don't know about the personal level, like they did with Atriox. Does he have a good story? Who knows? I don't know what his origin story is. They haven't gone into it, but I think he needs a really good origin story. And the thing, I think what will make him a really good bad guy is that he doesn't believe he's bad, and that he can be compassionate and homicidal at the same time. You know, bad guys are characters. They're not just, I don't know, psychotic people just running around killing everything. They have a goal. And I think that if Escharum is going to be a really good bad guy in Halo Infinite, he needs to really be brought forward in the narrative. And that's the main challenge that 343 has in front of them. Is the narrative good enough to make me hate and relate to Escharum at the same time? I want to kill him as much as I want to respect him. A lot of other games do this. It's not easy to do. It's very difficult. And I hope they pull it off. But it also leaves me the question, what happened to Rampant Cortana? Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that video. So to sum it all up, we need a great narrative with a great bad guy, and I hope Escharum is it. Escharum, however you say his name. And I keep looking this way because that's why I wrote down his name. I'm sorry. Anyways, what do you guys think makes a great bad guy? What kind of bad guy do you want Escharum to be in Halo Infinite? What are the personality traits that you hope to see? Do you like any of the other 343 bad guys that I mentioned? The Didact, Rampant Cortana, the Chief himself. Do you love Atriox as much as I love Atriox? I love him being a bad guy. I really, really do. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and I will catch you guys next time.